today is Ash Wednesday, and I know a whole heap of one. I bet you the majority of Jamaican people don't know what is the symbolism of Ash Wednesday. Whole heap of people don't know that. You have to go be very Roman Catholic religious to know that. Yesterday they make it a holiday. I don't know why a religious day should be a holiday for everybody in Jamaica. It's kind of weird, but that is the way how we work the thing. Just like how them have a Boxing Day, which is not a religious holiday, but the whole of Jamaica have to celebrate it, whether them like it or not. And then we have days where we should be celebrating, where we don't celebrate. We don't celebrate. Some days that is directly related to us, the majority of African people in Jamaica, where we just throw it aside and make them give with the to celebrate. You know, them guy have a thing come around now named Lent. Lent. That is the beginning of the end. And why I say the beginning of the end, after the part of it where you start to celebrate, and you have most people I say, boy, them eat certain food during Lent. And then when it come around here to the end now, them say, them go have a thing named Holy Thursday. And then them have Good Friday. And then them have Easter Sunday and Easter Monday. And you know, all of those things is religious holidays. But people forget what it is all about. And them just party, and just keep them parties. And the symbolism of that get thrown away in some closet. You understand? And then the capitalists them take over and start to sell you things where you don't need. You don't need it. So we need to go in our head cup and understand how those historical events relate to it, if it relate to it, and how we can work around it, because it's nothing but pressure. All of it is pressure. Pressure upon the people them continuously for do something that them don't even know why them doing it. What is the reason why them doing it? You know, we can talk about it because we come up in a time when it was embedded in our us. Celebrate these things, even if you want or not. Parents, make you celebrate it. They have a thing named Easter, bun, and cheese. And everybody look forward to Easter bun and cheese. And they don't know why they might eat Easter bun. And they don't know why they might eat cheese at that time of the year. Soon when you hear this program, you'll be hearing a whole heap of that being advertised on this program. Whole heap of people don't know why they might eat Easter bun and cheese. What is Easter? Because it's that set of people, set of religious people create that to manipulate the minds and the thinking of the people them. But we continue with Black history. We see some things are going on in Africa, you know, where we just tell you about long time. And this is the removal of the French out of Africa, because they have controlled so much things that the people they would not be able to have a decent economy in them country. And this economy derives from the mineral resources that these white people come, especially the French come and take out the mineral resources there and go make big money for themselves while leaving Africa poor still. But we see a whole heap of African country rise up to the occasion now and I say, look here, enough is enough, you know. We now have to keep out there so to continue to dig out the resources while we get poor. And one of them countries, Burkina Faso, where a young president come up and say, look here, enough. And it's one of the only countries that use what them get from them country to pay off the national debt. Can you believe that? It is reported that this country don't have no foreign debt hanging up over them head and over the people them of Burkina Faso. I will tell you that when Mali run out the French, and this Burkina Faso president run out the French also. And I did say from last year, I said, what the hell when Senegal drive the French out of them country, because Senegal is like the starship of Western Africa. Senegal is one of the country them in Africa where the prize of the French is Senegal. But now we see a youth come now and decide, say, look here, enough is enough. We're going to move the French in a way where them do have no them can't manipulate mineral resources. And also the language. So I play the speaker, you know, I want to listen to it, you know, seriously, listen to the speaker. Very important. Because we see Africa rising, and we have to keep in contact the African rising, because it's not long. All right, here we go.
Oil refinery. It's a major move that has the potential to change the game, not just for the West African nation, but for the entire continent. Now, if you're thinking, okay, cool, why should I care? Stick with me. Because this is about way more than just oil. It's about power, it's about control, and a shift as far as Africa finally beginning to take charge of its own future. Now, before we get into it, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss another critical conversation like the one we're about to have. All right, guys, so let's rewind a little bit, okay? Up until now, Senegal had to import refined petroleum products. So basically, crude oil would leave Africa, get processed elsewhere, and then come back at a higher price. And that's a cycle we've seen all over and over again in Africa. And frankly, it is one of the reasons why the continent remains one of the poorest on Earth. Although we are blessed with an unimaginable abundance of natural resources, and I'm talking about resources that cannot be found anywhere else in the world, we extract very little value from them. You see, most of these resources are exported out of the continent in their raw state, and then they are returned to the continent in a finished or refined state at a premium price. So something that should cost, maybe $1 will end up costing $5 because it was refined out of the country or the continent. There is very little value creation happening on the continent. So think oil, gold, diamond, cocoa, you name it. But Senegal just said, enough of that. Time to change that. And so it all began in 2014 when the Sangomar offshore oil field was discovered off the coast of Senegal. Drilling in the field began in 2024, and this put Senegal on the map as an oil-producing nation. But here's where things got really interesting, because instead of just pumping the oil and shipping it off to be refined somewhere else, Senegal made a power move. They said, we will build our own local refinery and keep that value right at home. And that's exactly what they've done. You see, they've invested over $1 billion in upgrades to their national refinery known as Senegal African Refinery Company, SAR, leveraging financing from local banks as well as the Pan-African Bank, Afreximbank. And today they've processed their first batch of crude, 650,000 barrels to be exact, producing 90,000 tons of diesel, gasoline, kerosene, and butane gas. That's huge, but they are not done yet, as they are reportedly in the midst of an additional $500 million deal to further expand their capacity. So let's zoom out for a second. Why does this matter beyond Senegal? Because this is about Africa shifting from being just a supplier of raw materials to actually controlling the production process. You see, oil just a resource, right? Oil is power. The countries that control oil production control their own economic destiny. Look at Dubai. Look at Saudi Arabia. And for way too long, African nations have been locked out of that power structure. Think about it. Nigeria, Angola, Ghana, they've all got oil, but they still have to import refined fuel. It just doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, countries like the US, China, and Europe make billions refining and selling it back to Africans. Yeah. Now that's the cycle that Senegal is breaking here. Fuel prices could drop. Local jobs, potentially thousands of them created. Energy security, a huge step forward. And let's not forget the bigger picture. Africa loses billions every year by not refining its own resources. So Senegal's move is proof that that doesn't have to be the case. But of course, with big wins come big responsibilities, right? The government has already set up commissions to review oil contracts to make sure that foreign companies aren't walking away with all the profits. And that's the right move. Because if we're talking long-term success, we have to make sure that the money is staying in the country and that it's benefiting its people. So the next step, well, Senegal needs to reinvest these oil revenues very wisely. Infrastructure, education, and this is a big one, renewable energy. They have the chance, an opportunity to be a leader, not just in oil, but in Africa's transition to clean energy. And let's hope they take that. Now, few had heard of him a year ago, and now he's set to become Africa's youngest president. The official results of Senegal's election by the 29th of March, but provisional results show that opposition leader Bassirou Diomaye Faye, who's 44, is set to win. His extraordinary rise caps a rollercoaster period in Senegalese politics that caught many off guard. Months in jail alongside ally and kingmaker Ousmane Sonko ended suddenly with the pair released the week before the presidential election. Now, Mr. Clean, as he's nicknamed, has promised to get to work on some sweeping reforms. Let's speak to our West Africa correspondent, Thomas Nardi. Just tell us a little bit more about Mr. Faye.
Well, Diomaye Faye is a 44-year-old tax inspector and a member of the disbanded Party, co-founded by popular opposition figure Ousmane Sonko. They were both imprisoned on separate charges and subsequently released just days before the election. And Ousmane Sonko was disqualified from contesting in the election because of a suspended defamation conviction. So Diomaye Faye was selected to replace him. He's known among his peers to stand for the principles of fairness, integrity, and transparency. And he's already started speaking. He said that he will rule this country with humility, and he will also fight corruption. He's promised to reform the country's institutions and deal with challenges facing the youth, such as unemployment and the high cost of living. He made these remarks during his first public appearance after his main political challenger conceded defeat.
Okay, thank you very much. So Thomas Nardi for us there, our West Africa correspondent. What's happening in Senegal also speaks to the importance of leadership. Since taking office in April 2024, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, the youngest elected leader in Africa, has made one thing clear. Senegal is reclaiming its sovereignty. And he's not just talking the talk, he's walking it, taking decisive action. In November 2024, he ordered the withdrawal of French military troops, sending a strong message that Senegal will no longer be a staging ground for foreign powers.
As French people, could you imagine seeing us in your country with tanks or military vehicles, with Senegalese soldiers in Senegalese uniforms? That's what history has been like. France has enslaved, colonized, and remained.
diplomatic front, he's renegotiating oil and gas contracts, making sure that Senegal, not foreign companies, reach the benefits of its natural resources. And he's also doubling down on cultural independence, pushing for the use of indigenous languages, and I love this, over French in schools and government. So what's the takeaway? It's simple. Senegal is setting the blueprint for how African countries can take control of their own resources and break free from dependence on foreign players. This refinery is bigger than oil. It's about self-sufficiency. It's about economic growth and a new vision for Africa's future. And for me, it is just so exciting to see. So the question now is, who's next? Which African nation would you like to see follow Senegal's lead? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. That's it for today's breakdown.
I listen to everything on IRFM. IRFM on Sunday. IRFM on Monday. IRFM on Tuesday. IRFM on Wednesday. IRFM on Thursday. Step on Friday. IRFM on Saturday.
Identity of an African.